Welcome to our Hong Kong Brief program. Today, we dive into the latest happenings in Hong Kong's financial markets, environmental initiatives, and cultural concerns. First up, Hong Kong stocks are on a downward trend, with the Hang Seng Index falling as investors eagerly await potential stimulus measures from Beijing and upcoming corporate earnings. Meanwhile, the tech sector isn't faring much better, as major players like Alibaba and Tencent also see losses amid this uncertainty. In environmental news, a local NGO, the Green Earth, is calling for stricter regulations on energy efficiency in commercial buildings. They emphasize that landlords should not just conduct audits but also implement necessary improvements to combat rising energy consumption. With nearly 20% of audited buildings showing increased energy use, the group is pushing for mandatory actions to help Hong Kong meet its ambitious electricity reduction goals. Lastly, a government plan to revamp the beloved Hong Kong flower market has sparked criticism from local merchants and advocates. They fear that the redevelopment will strip the area of its unique charm and culture, as plans include transforming the market into a high-rise residential and commercial complex. With so much at stake, community voices are calling for more consideration of the market's heritage. Please stay tuned for more detailed coverage on these important topics. South China Morning Post reports that Hong Kong's stock market continues to struggle, extending its losses as investors remain cautious in anticipation of potential stimulus measures from Beijing and upcoming corporate earnings announcements. The Hang Seng Index saw a 0.7% decline, settling at 20,683.06, while the Hang Seng Tech Index fell by 0.6%. Despite a slight upward movement in mainland benchmarks, major Hong Kong companies like Sands China and Galaxy Entertainment faced significant drops ahead of their quarterly results. Notably, Alibaba and Tencent also recorded losses, as the Chinese central bank announced a reduction in loan prime rates to stimulate the economy. Investors are now looking towards the National People's Congress for further government spending plans and bond issuance quotas, with several major firms set to report earnings this week. In another report from South China Morning Post, environmental advocates are urging the Hong Kong government to enforce stricter regulations on energy consumption in commercial buildings. Currently, landlords are only required to conduct energy audits every 10 years without any obligation to act on the findings. The Green Earth organization highlighted that nearly 20% of audited buildings reported increased energy usage over the past decade, raising concerns about the efficacy of current regulations. Thomas Chan from the Green Group emphasized the need for accountability, suggesting that properties showing higher energy usage should provide explanations and improvement plans. The government's proposal to amend the building's energy efficiency ordinance could potentially tighten regulations, but advocates argue that more stringent measures are necessary to meet the city's carbon neutrality goals by 2050. Lastly, South China Morning Post covers the controversy surrounding the redevelopment of Hong Kong's iconic flower market, with merchants and community groups voicing their opposition to the government's plans. The Urban Renewal Authority aims to transform the market into a residential and commercial complex, which critics argue could strip the area of its cultural significance and character. Enya Wong, a flower shop manager, expressed concern that the redevelopment would destroy the market's spirit, while others highlighted the need for preserving existing public spaces and addressing the condition of older buildings. The project, which is expected to cost 2.5 billion Hong Kong dollars and be completed by 2035, has sparked discussions about the importance of maintaining local culture amidst urban development, with officials pledging to engage with community stakeholders to address their concerns. South China Morning Post highlights the inspiring journey of 17-year-old Li Hoklam, a student at St. Joseph's College who has already made significant contributions to science and education. his passion for environmental medicine ignited during a debate, leading him to invent Starkian, a groundbreaking device that can absorb heavy metals and radioactive isotopes from water, potentially reducing child deaths from water pollution by 97%. Li's perseverance through challenges in the development process reflects his belief that science is a journey of trial and error. His achievements include winning the 56th Joint School Science Exhibition and co-authoring research papers at the University of Hong Kong, alongside founding Stereotype, an initiative aimed at empowering underprivileged youth through educational resources. In a celebration of innovation, Boucheron introduces the Cotter 5D memory ring, a remarkable piece of jewelry that marries high-end design with cutting-edge technology. This stunning ring is not only a visual masterpiece but also a vessel for memories, as it incorporates 5D memory technology that can store audio data for billions of years. The creative director Claire Choi drew inspiration from her childhood experiences by the Atlantic Ocean, embedding an oceanic soundscape within the ring. This pioneering creation showcases Boucheron's commitment to pushing boundaries in luxury jewelry, allowing future generations to connect with cherished memories through this unique auditory experience. The ring's debut coincides with the opening of Boucheron's first boutique in New York, further solidifying the brand's legacy and connection to the U.S. Chanel's 2024-25 cruise collection pays homage to the Maison's iconic tweed fabric while capturing the carefree essence of French port cities like Marseille and Deauville. The collection reflects a rich history of cruise wear that dates back to Coco Chanel's vision of comfortable yet elegant designs for leisure activities. The latest offerings feature vibrant colors, playful silhouettes, and a blend of menswear and womenswear elements, including the classic tweed jacket, which symbolizes female empowerment and liberation from restrictive fashion norms. With intricate fabrics and dynamic designs, the collection embodies the spirit of adventure and freedom, making the tweed jacket a timeless staple that continues to evolve while honoring its heritage. South China Morning Post highlights the challenges faced by Hong Kong's Culture, Sports and Tourism Bureau under Chief Executive John Lee Ka-chiu's administration. Despite the government's intent to be results-oriented, several key performance indicators have not been met, particularly a blueprint for enhancing the arts and creative industries. Lee's decision to specifically call out Secretary Kevin Young for his department's delays underscores the urgency of revitalizing tourism in light of changing visitor preferences. The history of stalled efforts to establish a culture-focused bureau since Leung Chun-ing's time has left the sector struggling to catch up, necessitating a more robust commitment and resources from the government to foster the creative industries. Nikkei Asia reports on China's recent adjustments to key lending rates as part of a broader strategy to stimulate its slowing economy. The People's Bank of China has lowered the 1-year loan prime rate and the 5-year loan prime rate, following a series of previous cuts aimed at providing financial support amid disappointing economic indicators. With GDP growth slowing to 4.6% and manufacturing activity contracting, the government faces skepticism regarding the effectiveness of its stimulus measures. Although officials have promised necessary fiscal spending, economists remain cautious, predicting only modest growth for the upcoming year, reflecting the ongoing challenges in stabilizing the economy. The South China Morning Post also celebrates the philanthropic efforts of several Chinese public figures who are making a difference in society. Notable among them is actor Louis Koo, who has donated substantial sums to build schools and clinics, earning him the affectionate title of Principal Koo. Singer Han Hong has supported numerous orphans through her charity, while actress Yao Chen advocates for refugee education as a UNHCR Goodwill Ambassador. Additionally, Kai Lei, a former executive diagnosed with ALS, is raising funds for research into the disease. These individuals exemplify how celebrity influence can drive positive change and address critical social issues in China. South China Morning Post reports that Oscar Coggins will be the sole representative for Hong Kong at the upcoming World Triathlon Cup in South Korea, following the withdrawal of his teammates Bailey Brown and Mark Yu due to health issues. Coggins, a Tokyo Olympian, has shown promising fitness levels after overcoming a challenging season. He finished fourth in the recent Hong Kong race and is determined to maintain his momentum in the final races of the year. Meanwhile, Brown, who fell ill with an E. coli infection and norovirus after a race, and Yu, who has been unwell since his debut in Weihai, are both expected to recover in time for the season's concluding event in Japan. South China Morning Post also highlights the recent surge in Hong Kong's property market, attributed to a mix of government stimulus measures and lower borrowing costs. Recent sales figures indicate a notable increase in home transactions, with major developers reporting high sales rates for new projects. Analysts suggest that while the current improvements are encouraging, further government intervention may be necessary to sustain the recovery. Proposals include increasing the loan-to-value ratio for properties and reallocating subsidized flats to stabilize the market. The optimistic outlook sees potential for a significant rise in transactions, indicating a possible turnaround in a market that has suffered for years. South China Morning Post further reveals that nearly 1,900 teachers from Hong Kong have applied to work in England under a new initiative aimed at sourcing overseas educators. While the opportunity presents a chance for many, successful applicants face significant pay cuts compared to their earnings in Hong Kong. The article features the story of Edgar Yu, who transitioned to teaching in the UK after receiving his qualification. Despite the challenges of adjusting to a new educational environment and lower salary, he expresses satisfaction with his decision, primarily motivated by concerns over the political climate in Hong Kong. The demand for educators, particularly in subjects like mathematics and computer science, has led many Hong Kong teachers to seek opportunities abroad, reflecting a broader trend of emigration amidst local challenges. South China Morning Post reports that wealthy European families are increasingly drawn to Hong Kong as they seek to diversify their investments and capitalize on China's long-term growth potential. BNP Paribas Global Wealth Management CEO, Vincent Leconte, emphasized that Hong Kong's attractive framework for family offices, including tax incentives and a migration scheme, has made it an appealing destination for these affluent families. The Hong Kong government's commitment to stability and its recent policy changes, such as expanding tax concessions for single-family offices and including residential property investments in the Capital Investment Entrance Scheme, further enhance the city's allure. Leconte noted that these family offices are focused on long-term wealth preservation and growth, rather than short-term profits, and he expressed a desire for more policies to attract European family offices to the region. In an opinion piece from SCMP, the recent reduction of alcohol tax in Hong Kong has not generated the excitement many expected. Chief Executive John Lee Kok-yiu's announcement only applies to high-end spirits with an import price exceeding 200 Hong Kong dollars, meaning most consumers will not see any significant price reductions unless they purchase premium bottles. While the government hopes that this tax cut will stimulate sales and offset potential revenue losses, concerns have arisen from both the spirits industry and public health advocates. Critics argue that the tax cut may not sufficiently boost the food and beverage sector and could inadvertently promote increased alcohol consumption among residents. The government aims to balance trade stimulation with public health considerations, but the effectiveness of this policy remains to be seen. Another SCMP opinion highlights the government's cautious approach to regulating subdivided flats in Hong Kong, which have long been criticized for their inadequate living conditions. Instead of outright banning these units, new legislation will allow only those that meet specific criteria, such as minimum size, height, and safety standards, to be leased. While the intention is to improve living conditions for the tens of thousands residing in these subpar dwellings, critics argue that labeling them as basic housing units does not address the underlying issues. the proliferation of these flats is largely attributed to lax enforcement and a heated property market, and concerns persist that the new regulations may inadvertently legitimize substandard living conditions. As the authorities navigate this complex housing dilemma, they must ensure that the new standards are realistic and that the impact on tenants and the broader housing market is carefully monitored. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.
News breaks, buzz the ground, stories spit, walls come down. Voices merge in the sound, faces mix in the crowd. Broadcasters paint the scene, world events on our screen. Every link a different theme, words collide in the stream. 6 degrees connect the dots, background stories more than nuts. Hear the voices rise a lot, truth unveils in every spot. Cultures clash across the globe, spin the threads in a stroke. Every story wears a robe, truth and lies in their code. Journalists dig real deep, secrets out they don't see. Every angle they will keep, in the news we take a lead. New perspectives day by day, hidden truths come to play. In the background shades of gray, every story finds its way. Perspectives day by day, hidden truths come to play. In the background shades of gray, every story finds its way.
Cultures, I go. What really or do not? What enough to be you? Everything and ever. What enough and after? What enough and after? What enough and after? Nothing, 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 nothing.